Okay. So I had great expectations today for for producing a document which is the human rights and conditions of life from the book, and just in light of being Civil Rights Day, as a reflection on which rights are like actively observed in your own life, and then also just a reflection on the ones that maybe are kind of just worth evaluating, because on a day like today, it's like big topics like civil rights and human rights sometimes like lose the let's see, what would be the way to put this? It's like the lack of specificity as far as like, okay, like what do these things, like what do these rights encompass? That's kind of this is a little bit like free form. It's the end of the day, and I have definitely failed in my aspiration to basically become a marketer with about 5 years experience in about 3 days. So so yeah, maybe I need to think about how to better position this. I mean, one way to talk about this is that with the book, one of the it's there's a lot that needs to come together in reading and understanding it. That's in it, and just like learning anything new, there's the process of like sticking with something as the information doesn't all completely gel together, and the disparate pieces of information begin to kind of like click, 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 click together, and then the momentum builds with the impact of this practice. And so one of the components of this practice is really understanding interruptions and stressors. And these are impacting factors that have shaped us. And as a result, we've adapted. And so the two primary frameworks, or the two themes as far as interruptions and stressors, as are outlined in the book, are: one, boundaries by Hub, and the second are basically like human dignities, human rights, and the rights to life. And one of the things about these are that you might find that you find it confronting, especially coming up in a meritocracy culture, which is like you earn everything, and that like doesn't have a lot of like built-in compassion for suffering. so um look, I really like, my aspiration here had been to create a dot well, I have it, I just haven't figured out how to like host it, share it, and like get it and distribute it like I'd hoped. But this won't be a problem next year. That's I get what I'm trying to encourage myself with. It's like I'm gonna know how to do all these things. But anyhow, I couldn't give up when I realized that it was just not gonna happen tonight. It's like 8 o'clock Eastern time right now. I I just thought, "You know what I'm gonna do? I wanna discuss these anyway." I want to I wanna talk through, the different, like, what these are, these human rights, and, um, I don't know, just give them a little bit of space today, because they really matter. I mean, so in the book, it's on page 22 if you're following along, that the following human rights for each hub are every person's birthright, and the process of reclaiming them, even though they were always yours to begin with, can be difficult. It starts with knowing that simply being alive establishes worthiness. Existence is the only merit required for a human life to be valuable and important. Um, that alone. Uh, yeah, that alone is important, essential. I mean, because the thing is, as soon as we start creating a spectrum of like worthiness, versus like lack of worth, we're on that spectrum. And so we actually like introduce the notion that like, it's possible to slide in the direction, like, that you could actually become unworthy. And while there certainly is, like, you can slide in a direction, like, with kinda, like, bad actions and things like that, um, in terms of just, like, the work that you need to do for taking accountability, your worth as a human being doesn't change, which is kind of, like, super confronting for people. The idea that, like, your value goes down because of your economics or your value goes down because of your actions. I mean, the bottom line is, like, nobody is accountable for you, like, but your worth doesn't change, like, your absolute worth, and so it's like nobody, like, really is, like, I'm really tired right now, I can tell. It's not coming in too hot right now. And thankfully nobody's watching this. So this is really like an exercise of me just expressing this very poorly. Um, but still, like I will show up here for this. So the first hub, and for those who are familiar, at least in the book, like the first hub is the foundation, and the human right is the right to be here, the right to take up space. And working on this right can feel deep and confronting. When we reclaim the first hub, we get better at caring for our physical body and build trust in ourselves and our self worth. The central tenet of this hub is trusting that you will have your essential survival needs met. So a lot could be said on this, and obviously I'm not particularly articulate right now, so I'm gonna kind of like leave that one for contemplation, for individual contemplation. But so the examples of what this right represents is the right to exist and take up space, the right to physical security, the right to have what you need to survive, the right to sovereign ownership of your physical body. Mm. Yeah, I just got kind of like a wave of feeling with the last one. All right. So the second hub human rights are the right to feel and express emotions, the right to want things for yourself, and the right to experience joy and pleasure. Author Anna Judith writes, if we cannot feel, it is very difficult to know what we want. She points out how cultures that frown on emotional expression or consider sensitivity a weakness infringe on the basic right to feel. And so this is a right that gets infringed upon when our feelings are negated. It's like don't and there's a lot of nuance in this. Another that I think I'm going to rely, if anybody does ever listen to this, and for people who have read it, to just to leave that for individual contemplation instead of me kind of expounding on it. So the kind of high level of this right is the right to feel, the right to express emotions, the right to want, and the right to need. And I mean, one thing I'll note is that interruptions in the second hub can sometimes take the form of intolerance for neediness, one way or the other, in ourselves or in others. But I mean, one thing I'll say is that doing this, it's just really, it's just when I'm going through this, I just really feels like a discussion, and I I really like hope and welcome the opportunity to talk to you about this, like what you think and what your responses to it, and um any like thoughts or insights that you have on this. So the third hub human right is the right to personal autonomy and the right to act freely from personal integrity. Judith writes, cultures with narrowly defined behavior patterns impair the right to act through punishment and the enforcement of blind obedience. Many people fear straying from a path of conformity and obedience because as children they were punished and taught to be well behaved. For people who have been victims of oppression and injustice, it is their human right to express their natural and justifiable anger if it does not cause harm to others. Now, once again, in further in the book, the relationship with anger is explored. Um, a larger topic than honestly I've like this forum supports right now specifically because of my mental capacity. But so the high level on these rights are the right to act, the right to be free, and the right to be an individual. Um, mm, okay. Fourth hub, human rights. The right to love and be loved, and the right to be treated with dignity. All human beings, regardless of perceived merit, are worthy and deserving of love and compassion. This doesn't mean that you are personally responsible for supplying it. Important part. There are people who are shocking and their actions may be unforgivable to you. You do not need to love or accept their actions, but it is their human right to receive the redemption and healing power of love, and to interfere with this is an act of interruption. A lack of compassion for other people is almost always the result of or results in a lack of compassion for ourselves. Yeah. This is where I think some of this stuff, it's like where like this gets hard for people because of notions of having to earn everything. And that your humanity, like even just like the notion that your humanity is literally um like it's it's just evidence of like, I mean, worth is even like doesn't fully encompass it. Basically, if there's any, high level overview of what this book is about, it really is about understanding that, instead of being like a flawed asshole that's like in constant, should constantly be backpedaling because of your flaws, like that you're a miracle, like you're a miracle of the universe. So yeah, it's like pretty. There's that. Yeah, that my small thing on a Monday night. So the high level overview is the right to love, the right to be loved, the right of human dignity for all people, the right to feel worthiness without conditions. Mm. And the thing is, if there's feelings that arise that contest these notions, um, like I would encourage you to reflect on where that comes from. Like who taught you that these are not rights, but privileges? So the fifth hub, human right, and here we are like 14 minutes. So like we've got 3 more. I think we can make it through. Um, yeah. I mean, lucky you, you can just turn this off. I'm still here. So the fifth hub, human rights, to speak and express your personal truth and to be told the truth. Mature adult functioning in this hub uses constructive outlets for expression. If your truth is being suppressed, the first step is to be aware of it. And the next step is finding the right outlet. There's also the matter of speaking up against injustice, which can be interrupted by cultural program against breaking ranks with the status quo. Speaking for the safety of others can put your own safety at risk. So, high level overview on this, the right to speak your truth, the right to be told the truth, the right to be heard, and the right to self-expression and integrity. And this is like, as far as like this being confronting on any level, just because just because it's not realistic to expect that these rights are going to be met socially, that doesn't mean that doesn't take away from the validity of them really representing human integrity. And so, yeah. So, six subhuman rights: the right to be seen as who you are without punishment or cruelty. This is the right to express yourself with integrity and imagination so that your outside reflects what you feel inside in a way that is right for you, and to do it without experiencing retaliation or cruelty. This right is the visual expression of your emblem. See chapter 3. Basically, like your reason for your kind of purpose to the world, and can be experienced by recognizing yourself when you see your reflection. So, one of the things about this, right? And and one of the things I'm experiencing right now personally is that through this book and through the conversations that I'm having with it on a larger scale, I'm being seen, because this really is a representation of, something I'm complete, I guess I describe as completely in alignment with. It's a full expression myself. But like the thing is there are people who have migrated away, and there are people who are coming in closer and who are more magnetized. And so, like, the thing is it doesn't feel good to have, because it's not the people I thought it would be. And some of the people who have created some distance with me because they find, for whatever reason, as a result of this, um, it's really ultimately been okay. And even as they create distance, I'm starting to see that, um, like, who I was, like, playing smaller, like, kind of, like, being, a bit more polite in my positioning about things. I mean, like, this is, definitely a position, being a lot more agreeable, those were conditions, that not speaking my truth, were conditions of some of these relationships that have migrated away, and that really strong, incredible connections are starting to be built with people that are really resonating with this. So it's like a point of integrity. But the thing that I keep thinking of when I'm like, kind of like whatever the catchphrase is, like, to be seen, you need to show yourself. And there's a lot of, I think, certainly I've experienced a certain type of loneliness of not connecting with people who, like, really, like, resonate with your true, like, deepest sense of who you are. But the thing is, it's really hard for those people to be able to find you and identify you and openly communicate with you if you're not, if you're not transmitting, if you're not expressing yourself. So, so the high level overview here is the right to see, the right to be seen and validated, the right to dream of possibility and potential. Yeah. The right to explore and develop inner vision. So, last but not least is the seventh hub rights, and this is the right to inquire. So the right to know and the right to receive answers. This is the right to information, education, and knowledge, to have your own thoughts and ideas, and to explore your interests without being controlled or indoctrinated. This hub also contains the right to have a spiritual practice if it doesn't interfere with the individual rights of others. So the right to education, the high level, is the right to education and spiritual exploration. The right to your own beliefs, both intellectual and spiritual, the right to experience peace, and the right to change your mind. So, I think the further exploration of this in particular in the seventh hub, it's in chapter 10 of this book, which is really more of a textbook than it is a, kind of like fun flip through. As anybody, it's big. I don't even know how to like really, this is like a regular size book. Ding. Um, bloop. And it's kind of like an Encyclopedia Britannica of, exploration for all areas of life, both practical and philosophical. So yeah, I really, look, really wish that I'd been able to get out the, sort of like my aspirational document, but that's just okay. I really gave it a shot and I learned a lot of stuff that'll help me get better. But anyway, if you've made it this far, I love you. Thank you. Thank you for sticking along. This is yeah, this is a pretty like free range mentality, and it's after a pretty like full day of being like energized, but super like super in it and working really hard. So please share any feedback you have on this. Any, even if like dissension to of like ideas, look, this is seventh hub human rights. So it really doesn't hurt my feelings if somebody's expressing themselves. Maybe it hurts my feelings a little bit, but um it's not ultimately like harmful most of the time. Just like there's all right, listen, I think, you know what? I think that's a wrap, and, so thank you if you've watched this, thank you if you've watched the other videos. If you like and subscribe, that definitely encourages me. Um, I'm really looking forward to continuing this, and yeah, and thank you again.